Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. My name is Brice, of course, and I'm here with one of my besties, Paula. Paula is over at Empowered Spirit Healing. I said it right this time, didn't
You
I? I
did
always
well done.
yoga. I always want to say yoga. I'm tired, inspired, or empowered yoga. It's healing. It's healing. You guys, and please make sure all of Paula's links are absolutely, as always, going to be down in the description box below, especially if your meditations are going quite well, aren't they,
They are.
Paula?
I've been getting a lot of views on them on YouTube, which is really exciting. And I've had a few requests come in, which is exciting. And yeah, my YouTube channel is growing. So
Awesome.
it's lovely to see
That's
that. But the thing that I'm most happy about is just that people seem to be enjoying them. And then that's the main thing is I want to be creating content that people enjoy. So that's great.
absolutely. Well, speaking of content, you remind me before I hit the record button, both, and I was inspired to open my Substack because of Paula, and then also my friend Rocker Mike has a Substack.
Yeah.
So both Paula and I are on Substack. Let me go. I have 13 whole subscribers right now, which we just opened. Like we've just opened.
Yeah, we
This is
both
new to me.
only just
Substack
started. Yeah.
is open. Is it so this is very new.
Yeah.
Now with Substack, I'm still learning Substack. Rocker Mike is also on Substack. What's great about Substack is that it kind of works as like a newsletter as well.
Hmm.
So I know that I specifically struggle with, we'll say, the rules and regulations of YT. I want to be careful how I say that. And so Substack is great, you guys. If you can go and subscribe to both of our Substacks, which the links will be down in the description box below. Therefore, I get so many people telling me, Paula, that they haven't seen me pop up on that's the punishment I get, right, for
Yeah.
challenging. So
Hmm.
my channel gets kind of hidden. But if you subscribe to the Substack as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel, every
You
time a
get
new video
notified.
drops, you're going to get notified through
Hmm.
your email. And so that helps you keep up with what we're doing, what Paul and I are doing. It greatly helps support our work, if you believe in our work. And we've also, on top of that, Paula is my partner in crime over on the Esoteric Academy.
Yep.
And we've got some really fun stuff coming up on the Esoteric Academy. Do you have it pulled up on your desktop? The
Um,
Esoteric Academy, I'm pulling it up right now.
okay.
I didn't have it pulled up. So the Esoteric Academy is like a virtual mystery school, and it's something that I'm so happy Paula brought this to me because it's become such an incredible passion project. I love doing it. And this is it's an online mystery school, and so we have so many different uh, templates of what you can do. We have an exercise program. If you want to just do the exercise, we have the videos that get troublesome, so we have these exercise programs. We have courses, we have meditations. Of course, you guys know, if you've been here for a while, you know that my whole inspiration for teaching exercise, yeah, it's about your spiritual growth for me. And so that's where we're very different, right, Paula, is that we're looking at exercise from a very different perspective. It's the same movements, it's the same things you would do at a gym or a bar class or a strength training class, but we're coming at it from a very different place.
Yeah.
And that's to help you awaken spiritually. And we've also got, again, a ton of courses that I've put up about, different spiritual texts. We have a course now we're working on, we're combining the Cassiopaean material with the Yoga Sutras. We're going very slow on that course because there's a lot to get through. Paula's got amazing meditations up there, some stuff about quantum healing. We have a new manual, guys, that we just put together.
Yes.
Paula made it really pretty. I'm going to pull it up here. I did not make it pretty. Paula made it pretty. I just
You
put in,
did. You put in all the useful information.
well, it's a beginner's guide on Ayurveda.
Hmm.
And I don't know why we haven't thought about this before, because one of the most popular topics here on Esoteric Atlanta
Yeah.
and in basically any spiritual realm is the doshas.
Hmm.
And I think it's because it makes so much sense, the doshas, but we've never been taught this in our Western world. And it's such an important element of health and healing to understand your dosha. So we put together like a beginner's guide where we go through the elements of Ayurveda. And this is not meant to be a diagnosis for anybody, but it's just something you can print off and keep, in your house to help you
Like
understand your
a
body
guide.
better.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a guide. And so we put that together. We got a beginner's guide for how to work the web, a 30-day beginner's guide up there for people who are brand new, to help you get started. Anything else you want to add to this,
Yeah,
Paula?
well, your beginner guide for Ayurveda has really inspired me to create a beginner's guide for quantum healing.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to start working on that because I think that would be really great to offer our beautiful members as well because we have the most beautiful members, don't we, Brice? I love them so
Yeah.
much. We've been able to connect with them on some of our live calls and we just love them. They're just awesome.
We're very, very lucky because, I mean, the beautiful thing about what's happening with the Esoteric Academy, and I've said this to you privately, we have the content. Like we know, but we're trying to figure just getting it on virtually out there to
Yeah.
people on a virtual platform. And we have such an incredible amount of students that have helped us grow and helped us figure out the best ways to do this. And we have such an amazing group of students. And that's the beautiful thing about a small business. Like even though we're on the internet, the interweb, so we're not brick and mortar. We're an internet store, an internet school.
Mhm.
We're still a small business. We're not a
Yeah, we
corporation, and
are.
so that's the beautiful thing about most shalas too, is that they're small businesses. And with that being said, it becomes personal and it
It
becomes
does.
meaningful. It's
Yeah,
not just a
it's our
corporate realm.
baby, and it's just you and me doing it. We're doing everything together. So it's our little baby, and we really love it, and we're trying to nurture it and make it as best we can for people. And we're just so grateful for everyone that has been a member with us from the beginning and has been very patient while we're just ironing out all the kinks and getting the hang of setting it all up. And yeah, but it's great. We're really loving it. I'm really enjoying it. So
And right now, you guys, you can put in Shishum to 10 for 10% off your first month if you want to. You also get 7 days of free trial, which
yep,
I love the businesses that do that, especially online. That's why we implemented it because it gives you 7 days. Because I know sometimes committing to something like this can be overwhelming.
yeah,
I mean, I'm someone that struggles with anxiety, so I get that. So we give you 7 days to like try it to make sure that it's something that you want to invest in.
yeah.
It's cheap. We've got this. I mean, that's the beautiful thing, Paula, that we can put this online. So therefore, we have infinite seats, so we can offset the price, so people can pay the lowest for all this information. I mean, $25 a month for just the workouts alone. I mean, a drop in at a yoga studio, that's basically one drop in at a yoga
Yeah.
studio that you're getting a library of all different types of exercises. If you do the $40 a month, you get all these courses, which are like worth thousands of dollars. I mean, the amount of thousands of dollars I've put into my own education, like
Yeah.
this is a steal. But we're able to do that, which is amazing because we want to help people. Like that's Paula and I are actively wanting to be on the service to others path. And part of
Mhm.
service to others is an energy exchange. And
Yeah.
so we're trying to keep the prices as low as possible so we can continue the business while also serving people to the best of our ability to serve them. And so we hope that you guys, if you've been interested in the Esoteric Academy, please feel free to ask us any questions you would like.
Mhm.
Again, know you get a 7 day free trial so you can try it out for a week. And if you decide it's not for you, no big deal. You just cancel your membership.
Yeah.
And it's just Paula and me. So if you have any
Yeah.
questions about anything, just reach out. Like you're not going to talk to a corporate
Yeah.
drone.
You're
You're
not
going
going
to
to
talk.
talk to some random somewhere, or to a
You're
bot.
going to be
It's us. It's us.
It's us. It's one of us that's going to respond. So
Yeah.
we do have this month, we are working on the access. So every single month, I want to now moving forward really focus, or season, I want to focus on a particular element of energetic principles in the body. So we're working on the axis this month, which is the middle center of the body. This is where Sushumna is. And so we've got a couple new videos, a strength training video, a fusion class video that's coming up that focuses on that. And we're going to do a live class on Friday the 23rd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a sweaty class. And I think Paul is going to close us out with a meditation in that class. So we'd love to have you. We'd love to
Yes.
have you. Please come. And but beyond that, anything else, Paula, before we get into the
Yeah,
juiciness
I
of
think
this
that's all
episode?
the most exciting stuff. We've created an Instagram page for the Esoteric
Yes,
Academy.
please.
Yes, because we've got our own ones for our own businesses, but we decided to create a joint one that's going to be just promoting all the Esoteric Academy information. So yeah, so that's exciting. That's very new as well. So yeah, we're just getting ourselves out there, aren't we? And the Instagram and
Yeah.
Substack and
All that down. I'll put the Instagram down below everything, guys. Maybe one day Esoteric Academy will have a TikTok, but Lord have mercy, I'm still trying to figure out TikTok.
yeah, I haven't, I'm on there, but I haven't even started on that yet. It's a little bit
TikTok's
overwhelming.
it's harder than YouTube because believe it or not,
hmm
their rules are way more aggressive.
Oh, really?
Like I
Oh,
mean, YouTube is easy compared. They are very, there's certain emojis. I mean, it's crazy. So
that's a whole
YouTube
new
is
world
very,
for me. I'm not quite
it's
ready for
very
that yet.
hard. And so I know I had said before I want to do some lives on TikTok because people can jump in with you. But now that I know the rules or TikTok are so strict, I'm like, well, damn, we can't talk about anything I want to talk
Yeah,
about.
that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Like we can't say anything. So YouTube is lackadaisical compared to TikTok.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so but hopefully Substack again is another great place where
Yeah, and you
we can
can
get that
do
again.
like podcasts and stuff on there.
Yeah.
I don't know that they do lives or anything like that, but you can do chats and things and you can comments and stuff. So yeah, we're still getting to know Substack.
Yeah.
It's very new to both of us, but hey, it's somewhere new to explore and to share our content and just to help people and connect with great people as well. It seems like a really good community on Substack.
It does. And I don't think there's as many rules and regulations that they
Yeah.
have as far as like words you use. So again, guys, please make sure you're subscribed to both of our YouTube channels because it does help the algorithms. Make sure
It
you like
does.
these
Yeah.
videos. And if you want to leave a comment, I know some people in other countries are having a hard time leaving comments because of certain laws that are being passed. I'm not going to say too much on that. We know
Oh.
UK is struggling with that right now. So I get it. Like if you can't leave an actual comment over your thoughts and feelings because of what's going on in your country, please make sure you protect yourself. Like please don't risk your safety
Yeah.
for the channel. You can, but if you want to leave a comment, just leave your country flag.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
fine
Or a
too. If
smiley
you want to,
face, anything.
yeah, because the comments do help the algorithm, the
It
engagement,
does.
so it helps them work it out there. So, but I absolutely understand. Like if you live in the UK and you feel like you can't post something that what you want to post because of what's going on in your country right now, I totally understand. Like I totally get that. And I don't want you, please, I don't want you to risk your safety and risk jail time for my YouTube channel. Just leave your country flag. That's all you have to do. You're with us in spirit. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I feel
Wow.
like as in America, I feel so freaking, even though we struggled in America with stuff like this, like at least I'm not going to jail. Like,
Yeah.
like at least like I feel very blessed. My heart goes out to all of our UK friends. Like I'm so sorry. Like this is so wrong what's happening. It's so wrong. And the world knows it. And so but please don't risk your safety for keep yourself safe. And yeah. So with that being said, I don't want to go too much into that because of YT,
Yeah.
but Paula, we have a very interesting subject that we were going to talk about today. And
We
you
do.
sent me an article that you had found on the Cassiopaean website. So we were going to
Yeah.
do one of the transmissions, but you sent me this article and I thought it was better to start with this article because there's so much mystery and speculation around like the Cathars, the Knights Templar, the Holy Grail, all
hmm
that kind of stuff. And we can't really go deeper into that until we talk about like the Nordic covenant.
hmm
And this is going to be an interesting one. And I want to remind everybody that your body, our people on our channel know this, but in case you're new here, our body is not our soul.
hmm
Your value as a human being has absolutely nothing to do with your race, your gender, your blood type, your country of origin. That's all just part of the roller coaster ride. So, in spiritual principles, your soul, your consciousness created, molded the life that you're in for certain lessons that you needed to learn. And some of those lessons can only be found with certain DNA structures,
hmm
right? So, you're going to learn different lessons in one biological, physiological body than another. I'm trying to be careful about how I say this.
Yeah.
And so when we look at different like races and what they're talking about, I want everybody to understand that we're not talking about your soul.
Hmm.
We're not, just because one race might have something unique doesn't mean that the other races don't have something unique about them too. This is just the topic of conversation. And I also, want to remind people that as far as those of us who believe in reincarnation, we've been every race under the sun.
Yeah.
So just because you might be Nordic in this life doesn't mean you were in the last life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Is there anything you want to add to that before we go into this even more?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, it's just we choose all different experiences to learn various different lessons. And why would you choose the same one every time? Well, you're not going to learn much from that. So,
Right.
yeah, I think people can get very caught up in the whole idea of what type of blood they are, what kind of race they are, what their ancestral history is. But yeah, I think people need to remember that, but that's just for just this life that we're experiencing right now. That other lives we've had are completely different. So, um, we've experienced all of them, like you said. So it's just interesting. It's just good for interesting information. It's just good to kind of understand what's been going on in the world and our history. I mean, that's why we're kind of wanting to learn all of this, is just so that we can understand the history that we have not been told, because so much has been changed around conveniently, and a lot has
Yep.
been taken out of history. So, yeah, we're just trying to put the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
again, your content, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, judge a man by the content of his character, not by the
100%.
color of his skin. And same, I'm going to reiterate that with the RH negatives. I'm an RH negative, and I've gotten a few months or a few weeks ago, I can't remember when, recently, I got a horrific a comment about RH negatives. And I think this person thought they were complimenting me because they didn't think I was evil, but they knew RH negatives were, because a lot of our establishment is Rh negative, and I responded like, that's no different than saying somebody is inherently evil because of their skin color. Like, that's bigotry.
Yeah.
We are not our bodies. Our bodies are designed for our souls to learn certain lessons. So for me, I'm Rh negative in this life, and I've had a lot of the side effects of an Rh negative, including the health side effects, and that is something my soul picked for right now,
To work
for
on.
whatever lessons, yeah, that I needed to learn.
Hmm.
And it's no, there's nothing else. There's nothing sinister about that. If somebody is evil, they're evil because that's who they choose to be. It has nothing to
Exactly.
do with
That's
their
their
blood type.
that's their choices that they're making on a daily basis. It's got nothing to do with, and even people that have grown up in certain families or certain cultures or certain colored skin, they're still making those choices on a daily basis. It
Yeah.
doesn't, yeah.
Look how many whistleblowers have left these
Yeah,
horrible families and made that choice when they could to leave.
exactly.
It is your choices. So just because, and there are just as many psychopaths sitting in prison who are Rh positive as there are psychopaths running the world who are Rh negative.
Hmm.
It's not, none of this gives any value. And if you're using your race or your blood type or whatever to make you feel like you are more important than somebody else, and that is evil, and that is not what this is about. These are, as the Cassiopaeans say, this is all just lessons. We're all just learning lessons.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Next life, new lessons. And so how you behave is your choice, right? It
Hmm.
has nothing to do with any other factor that you're contending with. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and share screen. Is there anything else you want to share about that,
Yeah,
Paula, before we go
no, I'm
into
good.
this? Do you want to read this, or do you want me to?
I'm fine either way. I don't mind you reading. That's good.
Okay. So this is the Grail Quest and the Destiny of Man, Part 7, the Nordic Covenant and the Coral Castle. Now, I've just
Mm.
skimmed this,
Me too.
Paula.
I've only just skimmed it as well. But I just thought
And
it looked very fascinating.
now it's cool.
And,
I'm
and
assuming
it seems like a summary, because it seems like they've chosen bits from various transcripts that have happened over the years, and they've put it all together. Well, Laura has put it together in this kind of article. So that's why it's kind of cool. It's different to what we normally go through with the transcripts, isn't it?
yeah, it's absolutely. It gives you a better overview of what all of this stuff collective they're trying to tell us. Now, I haven't, again, I'm assuming they're talking about the Coral Castle down in Florida.
Okay.
Um, and are you familiar with the Coral Castle in Florida?
I'm not, no.
So maybe I might be wrong, but we'll go ahead. The Coral Castle is it's like this wonder. It's near Miami. It's a little south of Miami, so near like the Florida Keys, the very tip end of Florida, and it's this like monument. I don't know the details, but there's like a legend behind it because the guy who made it, he put it up in a very quick time without any type of equipment. So there's this like mystery as to
Oh,
how this
yes.
monument.
Yep.
Let me actually, I just want to go ahead and show you guys. So
Did
I
you
have a
cover this
feeling,
in one of your other videos?
I think I've spoken about it.
Yeah.
I've never done a total deep dive. I definitely want to go. I mean, it's quite far from where we go in Florida, but it's still the same state.
Yes,
Um,
I remember you just covering this briefly in one of your videos. Yeah. Yeah, it's
so
fascinating.
it's fascinating how this guy did this. Again, people feel like the mainstream feels like there's a logical explanation, and I have a feeling, like I said, I've just skinned it. They're going to talk about like how Stonehenge was put together,
Hmm.
how the Druids built certain things quickly, and then relate it to Coral Castle. I don't know. I could be wrong though because I haven't read the article thoroughly. So we're doing that really with you guys now.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's go back to the article. So this was from February 23rd of 2011. Now, Paula, on my channel, I've been asking people how old they were in 2011. How old were you in 2011? What were you doing on February 23rd of 2011?
Well, I just had given birth to my second daughter in February 2011. She was only, oh, she was born on the 5th, so she was, yeah, what, 18 days old. So I was a very, very new mum for the second time back then. I was 24 years old because well, February 23rd is my birthday. So yeah, so that would have been my
Oh, there we
birthday.
go.
Yep.
It's your birthday. This was written on your birthday. My birthday was the day before your daughter's birthday, so I had just
Yes.
turned 20. I had to do the math there quickly. Yeah, I just turned
Yeah.
28. And I don't know what I was doing on the 23rd. Probably doing what any 28-year-old was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't have a child. I didn't have a. So let us know, guys, down in the comment section below. How old were you on February
Yeah.
23rd, 2011? Okay, so the subject of the Nordic Covenant emerged only gradually over a period of time, and there were many corollary events in our lives that had a strong bearing on the development of this information. The first time it was mentioned was on the 12/3/1994. Now, Laura lives in France now. I live in the United States. Obviously, we know this is 1994. So this is either December 3rd of 1994 or March 12th of 1994,
Uh-huh.
depending on where. And I don't know. I wish she would have actually specified because I don't know if she was living in France at this time or not.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
because I think America's the only, so we do month, date, year. So my birthday is 2483. But if I
Hmm.
lived in Australia, it'd be 4283, day,
Yeah.
month, year.
Yeah.
And that might have been the transcript we were gonna read before you found this article. So anyway, but it was in 1994. We'll say that it was in 1994. When a series of prophetic markers were given, there were signs we were to look for that would indicate, all taken together, that some significant change was imminent. We were told that the time frame was as yet indefinite and that no particular year would be given. Nevertheless, this is the long list of signposts. Signpost was the following remark. Minneapolis banking scandal relates to mysterious Nordic covenant.
Mhm.
Then on 3/4/1995, so that was either March 4th of 1995 or the 3rd of April 1995, a
Either
series of
one.
either one, it was in 1995. A series of remarks were made that really piqued our curiosity. Answer, enough said. Remember, you have been learning slowly that personal issues hold minor significance. Terry's dream was significant, however, and Frank has been sent the same messages as well. Laura, did you have a dream or a message, Frank? Frank, that's true. I did have some funny feelings, just the same kind of thing that there is something that we are all missing in our questions. Terry, okay, we are missing a key topic or issue here. That's true. Answer, fourth level service to others. You are only you have only thought of fourth level service to self. Laura, oh, what S was talking about, so that's a redacted name, was talking about, we need to ask about the good guys. They are the only ones who can help you defend yourself against fourth level attacks. So a fourth level attack would be a lot of like what I've experienced.
Right.
It's like a spiritual attack for those that don't know. So we're in third density.
Hmm.
Um, and then fourth density, which is a level up from us in consciousness, they split. So we're good guys. So Cliff Notes version, good guys and bad guys coexist in third density on planet Earth. We see that. We see that friction, right? But then once we grow in consciousness, we then our soul goes either service to self or service to others being of the light, service to self being of the darkness, two
Hmm.
polarities. And so fourth density service, I think this is so important to remind people, service to others, fourth level, they don't just pop in and say, hey, like they don't,
Yeah.
most paranormal, metaphysical experiences people are having, like 99% of them, even though they might feel like they're good, they're typically service to self entities, like bad, like they call them the Lizzies,
Mhm.
that are impersonating service to other, to love bomb you, to gaslight you, to make you dependent upon them. Like they might save you from something, they might help you, but their intention is to get you to depend on them so that you serve them because that service to self needs that. They need to be worshiped, they need to feed off of you because the darkness can't create anything, only the light can create.
Mhm.
So they're dependent upon you as food,
Yeah.
literally
They
and
need your
energetically.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the service, so what they're saying here, I believe, is that service to others is not going to come in and help you out unless you specifically ask for them to come.
Hmm.
And sometimes you have to ask many, many times um, in order for them to come because, and sometimes they won't come because by coming, they might interfere with your free will and they don't want to interfere with your free will.
Hmm.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Paula, as a healer? Like, do
Yeah,
you want
I
to say
just
about?
know, yeah, I just know that that's one thing it's very clear to me that I've learned is that you have to ask for help. They're not going to help you just because you might be thinking about it and might be thinking, oh, it'd be really nice if I had some help right now. You have to specifically ask for that help because
Yeah,
otherwise it goes against your free will. But yeah, I do find it a little bit unnerving learning that so many of, because so many of us have thought that visitors have been of the good and then learning that there have been the Lizzies the whole time.
yeah,
It just makes you really need to just be really careful and really use your discernment as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
Like my friend Cindy, when she does healing work, whenever a being enters, her question, I like her question is to that being is, are you here for unconditional love?
yeah,
And most of the time, it's not.
yeah,
And when it says no, because they have to be honest with you. So when they
yeah.
say no, she dismisses it. And she goes, and they look like angels, they look like, but her first question is, are you here for unconditional love?
Mhm.
No. Okay, you need to leave.
Yeah.
You know, so
And see, I don't really see like your friend does, but I more feel and I can kind of see colors and things. So sometimes the color will feel, it will feel good and the color will be like a nice color and things like that, but doesn't mean that it's necessarily good. So yeah, it's just really
yeah,
you've got to do a lot of protection and a lot of shielding
yeah.
things
And
and clearing.
they want you to feel good. That's part of love bombing. Like think about a
Exactly.
narcissist, just even on our third density with
Yep.
narcissistic people. They love bomb you. They make you
Oh
feel
yeah.
like this is the
Like
best thing
you're
in the world.
so important. Yeah.
That's what the Lizzies are doing too. So anytime you see or feel a presence, you have to have discernment,
Hmm.
even if it makes you feel good. Because what I've learned too is that service to others beings, when they do come to help you, they don't necessarily help you in the way that you expect,
Yeah.
right? There's
Hmm.
no grand. It's like that thing where this guy's, there's a hurricane and the water's rising and he gets on his roof and he's praying to God for to be saved. And a helicopter drives by and he dismisses it. A canoe comes by, he dismisses it, and the water keeps rising. He's like, God, where are you? I've asked you to save me. And God's like, I already sent you to,
Yeah.
like, you expect
Already
like
sent
an
you to help.
we sent you. So you always have to remember that because service to others is not going to interfere with your free will, they're going to assist you.
Hmm.
They're not going to do it for you.
Yeah, my way of taking it is that they're going to assist you to help yourself. You need to help
Yeah,
yourself. And they'll
you have to
assist
be,
you in that, but you still have to do the work.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a baby learning how to walk. You can't keep picking the baby up and holding its hands so that it can walk along. You've got to let the baby do it itself. You can be there to keep it
Involved.
safe, but the
You
baby,
gotta let it toddle, right?
yeah,
That's why it's a toddler.
yeah,
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So if you've got an entity that's willing to just do everything for you,
then
there's a price to pay for that.
yeah, and then there should be alarm bells going off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I said, every sighting of the Mother Mary historically
Hmm.
has never been the Mother Mary.
Yeah.
Even the Fatima prophecy, that was a Lizzie.
Yeah, that's crazy,
So
isn't it?
yes, we have to have discernment. All right, so answer, they are the only ones who can help you defend yourself against fourth level attacks. So again, others are never, the STO, they're never going to attack us. It's only going to come from the Lizzies.
Hmm.
We give you information which is invaluable in nature, but remember, we are sixth level service to others, beings of light. And on this density level, there simply is no interference with free will, no matter how detrimental to you. Terry, fourth level service to others, beings can actually help in a meaningful way. We knew there was both sides, but we never asked. We have been concentrating on finding out about the lizards, who are these fourth NC service to other beings that we need to contact. Obviously, we need to talk to them because they can talk to us. Sixth density us can't. And this goes back to, again, as I say all the time, I get very upset with like tarot card readers or channelers who are looking into like pulling cards on people on this planet, whether they're the good guys or the bad guy, without their permission, because that's breaking a huge, that's considered like spiritual RAPE to do that to somebody, to like pull tarot cards on somebody without their consent. That's a huge service to self choice that you're making, like a big one. And so please be careful with that. But I get annoyed when these tarot card readers are like, oh, but I asked their higher self. Well, no, they didn't. First of all, they asked their imagination, not the person's higher self, because the person's higher self, my higher self, is never going to talk to Paula. Paula's higher self is never going to talk to me. It's our higher selves. And that is because our higher selves are monitoring the lower self, but not making decisions for the lower self.
Hmm.
Because the lower self, we're the ones that have to write out the karma. The higher self is not writing out the karma, the lower self is. And so the higher self can't make those decisions because the higher self is not having to deal with the consequences, good or bad, of decisions being made.
Hmm.
Now, the only thing the higher self can do, and I think the Cassiopaeans do talk about this, is if somebody's life path has just become so unbelievably unbearable and their soul is literally on the point of smashing because the trauma is too much, like it was just too much, at that point the higher self can pull the lower self. So
Okay.
that's sometimes when people we'll say, are unalived unexpectedly, sometimes that's the reason,
Right.
is that the higher self was like, this is too much, this is actually doing more harm
Then good. Yeah.
than
Okay.
good, and so they pull.
Hmm.
So that's it. So don't delude yourself by thinking you can spy on somebody by asking their higher self.
Yeah.
That's not that's not a
Well,
thing.
and that's invading people's privacy too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's no different than looking through than breaking and entering somebody's house
Yeah.
or looking through somebody's window, a looky-loo, right? Like, like
And
that's,
in a way, it's almost worse because that's really personal information.
yeah, it's very personal.
Hmm.
I don't care if it's Bill Gates. I don't care if it's the Pope. I don't care if it's Trump. You cannot be doing that. These are human beings, regardless of whether they're psychopaths or not, regardless of whether they're making choices that appear to be detrimental or not. That's still their choices, and you still have your choices.
Yeah.
And you don't need to pull cards on people to understand how you should respond to those people.
Exactly. Because that's your
I don't
choice.
need Yeah, I don't need to pull cards to know about Mr. Gates. Like, I don't need that. I already see by his actions
Hmm.
that he's shown us. But
Yeah.
I don't need to know his personal stuff because that's none of my business. And that is still, if I'm choosing to do that, to spy on him or anybody else, celebrity, politician, then I'm making a choice that's selfish.
Yeah.
and it's not respecting boundaries, even if they're a bad guy, even they're still a human life. So, all right. So answer the Orion Feder that's Orion, right? I'm getting a
Yeah,
little blurry
yeah,
without my
Orion, yeah.
glasses. Federation. And who are the members of the Orion Federation? What can you tell us? You have asked us to protect you. It is important for you to understand that we are beyond that. Terry, we understand you at sixth density can't interfere with free will on either side. Well, you said that knowledge protects. You have been providing knowledge. Answer indirectly. We are providing invaluable information which becomes knowledge, but you are under attack. Therefore, you could maybe use some direct power from the same density as the attack is coming from. Isn't that interesting?
Mm,
Fight fire with fire.
yeah.
So, and that's the protecting. That's why in the United States we have the Second Amendment.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why. Because if you are being, and this is where the inverted spirituality comes in. If you are being hurt and you are not standing up for yourself and protecting yourself in self-defense, that is martyrdom.
Hmm.
And martyrdom is service to self.
Yeah.
You don't start the fight, you end it.
Mhm.
So, okay, guys, what do we need? What do we need to do here? Find a Nordic. They are Earth pose. They are on Earth posing as humans. They are fourth density. Yes, I thought that fourth density couldn't hold the frequency that long, and that is why the lizards have so much trouble. Jay, yes, they're service to self, not service to others.
Mm.
Very good. Jan hit it as they said. The service to others can't stay, only their service to others. Yes, Discover, remember, these are among your protectors, and Laura and Frank know what level one attack is like. Terry, Jan, and S Redacted are perilously close to finding out. I think I have definitely found out what the attacks are like for sure. I
Yeah.
think you have too, Paula. Like that, these are serious attacks. I don't think people who have ever been spiritually attacked really understand.
No.
I mean,
No.
physical,
Yeah.
the emotional, the physical stuff that happens to you, it's crazy. The money, the everything. I mean, it's crazy what happens to you.
Hmm.
Laura, and you can't just pray for these people to stop attacking you because that's again inflicting on your free will. All you can do is put up barriers and try to protect yourself in self-defense. And I know that when I started going under a heart attack when my birth chart was stolen back in 2021, and it almost killed me,
Still
I
pain.
I had to go and actually learn what they were doing, like how they were doing it.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
I had to
You
learn how that black magic is done. I
Yeah.
didn't do it myself, but I had to sit down and learn it so that I could actually then defend myself. And I did it with the help. I'm not going to say who, someone very powerful, a couple of people actually very, very powerful offline helped me
Hmm.
and knew exactly who these people were. One works for Mr. T, knew exactly who these people were and what was happening, and that they were on the radar of their witches and warlocks and for the darkness. And so I had to learn that. I had to learn what was actually being done. I couldn't just pray for protection. I couldn't just pray. No, I had to learn about the contract that was taken out on me. I had to learn about crazy about vampires, which now on TikTok, all that I was taught back in 2021 about vampirism, literal vampirism, is now coming out on TikTok with stories from other people. And I'm going to tell you guys, they're
Wow.
telling you the truth.
Hmm.
Vampires don't bite your body, they bite in your lip, like right here. So
Oh.
I was waking up every morning with a mouthful of blood, and I couldn't figure out why. It was when I got really skinny, when my birth start was stolen. Um, so I was being bit in my lip
Whoa.
at night.
While you were sleeping. And did you feel it at all?
No, I mean, I've never really been a good sleeper. I had other things happen to me at night that were, I'm not going to talk about on camera, that were horrific.
Mhm.
Um, and very physical stuff that happened to me. And I'm glad I had somebody in the bed with me that witnessed it all. And my physical body was covered in bruises and scratches, and I got very skinny. Um, but I learned how to block that. So I had to learn what that was, first of all,
Yep.
what was happening,
Mhm.
that it does exist, that there are. groups of vampires. They're not undead. They're not what we think of. They were very much like you and me.
Hmm.
And they grow up in these families, we'll say, and they have different. So I had a contract that had been taken out on me from a group of Canadians
Hmm.
to come into my district, which is the southeastern district, through New Orleans. So they had permission to attack.
Wow.
And so I had to learn all of that. I mean, talk about a crash course in what is
Oh,
actually going on in our world.
I mean, isn't it
And
just absolutely mind-blowing? And it's almost like, it's just all these things that we thought were myths and legends. It's like it's all real.
it's all real. And I mean, I think I can say it now. I think I almost died. Like I was very close to. And one of my friends was like, "No, this who works in this world." She was like, "This kills people. We've got it. This is an emergency." And with their assistance, I was able to do it all myself. And I still struggle with attacks. Like the attacks haven't stopped,
Yeah.
but now they're hitting me more financially because they couldn't take me out health wise.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And so you have to protect yourself. You can't just say in Jesus' name and it's gone. No, you
No.
actually have to
Well,
protect yourself.
Well, you have to learn these things. Knowledge is power, like the Cassiopaeans say. And now we know that probably saying in Jesus' name is probably going to do F all because that's just saying like Hail Satan, isn't it? Is that what it was? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
They want you to think
So
that. They want you to
how
think
is
that so that they won't go anywhere, right?
yeah,
Um, and no, you can think about it this way. Like if somebody breaks into your house and has one of these pointed at you, are you just going to sit there and say in Jesus' name? No,
yeah,
you're going to fight
exactly.
back and protect yourself. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with spiritual warfare.
Hmm.
It's the same thing.
And
So
you do need to learn how the darkness works in order to find out how you can protect yourself, what steps you need to take, and what procedures you need to do. Without
100,
understanding that, how can you protect yourself properly?
100%.
Hmm.
And so and that for me, like when it was happening to me, I asked for help from a bunch of different people and I got the help, but I had to do it
Thank
myself.
God.
It took
Yeah.
time because I had to understand it first,
Yes.
right? And so when I was
Yeah.
in the process of trying to understand it, it was still ongoing and happening, but I had no choice or else I was going to die,
Yeah.
And so,
I'm
yeah.
just so
So
grateful that you were able to get through that.
me too. So be careful, guys, who you follow on YouTube because
Yeah.
these are YouTubers. And remember, the Cassiopeans have already said a bunch of these YouTubers that you guys follow are undergrounders.
Hmm.
The ones who attacked me are. That's how they knew how to do this. So
It's
don't,
scary.
just as you take beings with discernment, metaphysical beings, take YouTubers with discernment too.
Yeah.
Because somebody
Absolutely.
tells you that they're good. I mean, there's a famous channeler on YouTube or on YouTube, I won't say her name, that horrifies me. Like every time I listen to her stuff, I'm horrified. One, she was talking about how she was up in a bus in Canada and she got this energy of the person in the bus with her was a Lizzie. And so she started to send this person light and she's talking like she's done something great. And it's like, you literally just broke free will and consent. This poor woman probably
Yeah.
wasn't even a Lizzie. And your imagination, so you're sending her and you're celebrating yourself for doing that, but she never asked you for that.
No.
You broke. So when you are doing that to other people without their permission, you are saying to the universe that you want to control that person and that you know better than that person.
Yeah.
That's no different than what the establishment does to us. That they for the good of that, for the good of you, we're going to give you this.
And it is nobody's right to say
No
that
one's
they
right.
know what is best for you because only you know what's best for you.
Right. Right. And to send love to people and healing to people without their permission
Hmm.
is you believing that you know what's best for that person.
Yeah.
And that is psychotic.
Hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that. This person also claimed to have saved Kate Middleton in the app. It's crazy. Like when you start to understand service to self versus service to others, you can clearly see where you're being duped. I think this person, though, is in their imagination. I think they have a wild ego in their imagination. They have no training. They brag about that. No, I'm like, that's embarrassing. Like if you're going to be a healer, it's embarrassing to not have like a lineage or people who have backed you, who have
Yeah.
worked with you and actually give you. a prestigious backing, like they trust you. So just be very careful, guys. Like this is spiritual warfare. This is what the seas are talking about. It's the darkness is always the boogeyman. The boogeyman is going to look like Prince Charming.
Yeah,
The boogeyman is going to look like the best thing that's ever happened to you. So be careful. The boogeyman is going to entice your ego about yourself. Oh no, it's cool. You're a star seed. You're out there at night fighting a galactic war. No, you're not. You're here on Earth. Your
yeah,
soul chose to be here on Earth. Come back to reality. So you've got to like take that, right? And so that's the biggest, and even just knowing that, Paula, even having that knowledge of how deceitful the darkness can be, can save you from a
absolutely.
lot of mistakes because you
Yeah.
start to question things, right?
You do,
All
and you
right.
start to be aware and you start to be like, okay, that's a red flag now. I recognize that. Whereas without that prior knowledge, you would never know to do that.
You would just trust.
Hmm.
You would just trust, take people
It,
on face
it,
value.
it's like the whole narcissist situation. I mean, we're all becoming very educated about that now and becoming aware of the love bombing and things like that. And it's just kind of like, oh, okay, that person's a little bit too full on now. Let's just step back. Whereas before we
So
would
many
have
red
just,
flags.
especially if you're in maybe like I have been a bit more of an insecure person in the past, I love people that love bomb me. It made me feel amazing until things weren't adding up anymore. And then you're just like, oh, okay. So
That
yeah.
was a trick, right? That
Mhm.
was or mirroring. Mirroring is a big thing
Yes.
that
Oh,
narcissists do.
definitely. Mhm.
And that's, you can have, like my boyfriend and I have a lot in common, obviously, because
Yeah.
we together, we have a lot in common, but we also have a lot of differences. So if
Yeah,
you meet somebody and they literally like everything you like, that's a red flag.
definitely.
Or if they agree with you on everything, that's a red flag.
Hmm.
And so yeah, just be very careful with these they're manipulation for a reason. Manipulation is called manipulation and not just lying because it works most of the time.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it's called manipulation because you get manipulated. It's not just called lying, which is what it is, lying, but it's a special kind of lying that tricks you. So Lara goes on and said, should we wear something special like a red scarf so they can find us in the crowd? No need at all. Just be open and aware. Well, we are certainly becoming aware that this planet is a very strange place, but then things took
Mhm.
a funny direction. Remember the question about Balak? Is that correct in saying
Oh,
that?
isn't that
From
Baalbek?
Baalbek? Okay,
Wow.
Baalbek from the previous oh, yeah. How was that? I was thinking that was a person. Okay, yeah, Baalbek from the previous session. How was it built?
Hmm.
Question: what technical means did they use to cut stones and transport them? Sound wave focusing. Now let's just so we can just look at this for a second because we looked at Coral Castle.
Hmm.
So I like to do this, Paula, when we do these C's. Sometimes it's just kind of in the moment, look it up so people
Yeah.
can. Yeah, Baalbek. I was thinking they were talking about an actual person, you guys. Baalbek, yeah. So here we go, right?
Yeah.
So
And I mean, look, that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, I've, heard from so many different sources now about how the pyramids were built was through sound. And
Stonehenge. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And actually, you guys, if you go to the Esoteric Academy and look under our beginner's guide, the three pillars of Ayurvedic medicine is breath, food, and vibration, which is
Mhm.
sound. So
Very,
that's a pillar. And so we talk about that briefly in the manual. We focus more on the doshas, and also, you know what I just learned, Paula, and I might be late to the party on this one, but cowbells, cowbells?
Mhm.
You know why cows wore bells around their neck? The sound kept the parasites away.
I I had no idea about that. Isn't
Isn't
that
that crazy?
crazy?
I
Jinx.
mean, like, all right, right. I'm like, it's so like, duh.
And
Like when you read it, you're like, that makes sense. Like, duh. Okay. I thought
I,
it was so that farmers could hear where their cows were. That's what I thought it meant. Like back in the
yeah,
day, they needed where the herd was.
absolutely. Yep.
But that's stupid because if it's fenced in, then the herd's not
Yeah, they're not going to go very far, are
voice.
they? Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
listen, I love cows. I've grown a
I
huge
know,
appreciation
me
because
too.
cows roam the streets of India, but they're not really the
Oh,
smartest animals, so they're gonna stay in there. They're gonna stay in their little pasture, you know. So
oh.
yeah, the bells on the cow was to keep the parasites off of the
I just think
cows.
that's amazing. I am so fascinated with sound. The more I'm learning about it, the more I'm just loving it. It's just really, really fascinating what
Yeah,
sound can do. It's just incredible.
absolutely. I mean, that's the
Um,
basis of
so
home, right? The
have
all
you heard of
vibration.
Michael Tellinger?
No,
Oh, he's done a great series talking all about sound and everything. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating.
it's
Yeah,
so important. The sound. I mean, that's it's so important.
yeah.
Sound and that the the that's why music heals people. Even if the music isn't in the right hertz and frequency that we need it to be in, it's still healing. It's still bringing a level
Just it
of
raises your vibration. I mean, just think about different songs that as soon as you hear them come on and you just get excited and happy because you're just
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
I love that
And that's
song.
why musical theater is still such a
Yeah,
popular thing, right? Because it
yeah.
changes the way you feel.
Hmm.
And it's not that it just, even like in more stressful music in the play, it brings you to that truth of emotion, which is what we need to
Yeah.
face in order. So it makes sense why sound healing is so important and how it can actually move things. So 10/23 19. So I'm assuming this is the American date. She's using the American date. So 10, that would be October the
Hmm.
23rd of 1994. So for my Australian, I've got a lot of Aussies, a lot of English people. So when you read these dates, that now clarified it, right? Because
Yeah,
there was no
that
chance.
clarifies it. Yeah.
So the Americans put, so when you're looking at these transcripts, Laura is American. So that makes sense that she's writing, even if she lives in France in this time. I lived in England for a while and I still wrote the American date. It's a hard habit to break.
Yeah.
So we put the month first, the day, then the year.
Hmm.
All right. So I asked a question that brought back a similar response with something added. Question, Laura, who built Stonehenge? Answer, Druid. Laura, who were the Druids? Early Aryan group. How did they move the stones and set them up? Sound wave focus. Try it yourself. Coral Castle, which I just showed you guys. So that's how Coral Castle was built. He used sound waves to move the stones. Here in the United States, in modern times, I don't know if he's still alive now, but like in the 1900s, like this is modern, right? Who taught the Druids to use sound waves? They knew, handed down.
Mhm.
What was Stonehenge built to do or used for? Energy director. So it
Ooh.
wasn't a place of sacrifice. It wasn't a place. That's like we did go back like Tempe, Catherine and I, and it's not. It was an observatory. It wasn't a temple. It was
Yeah.
an
Isn't that
observatory. So
fascinating?
yeah, so Stonehenge was not something where they were doing like blood stuff.
No,
It was an energy director.
I never thought it was. I thought it was like a portal. I don't know where I got that from,
Well,
but
energy director, I mean, we're energy. It
hmm.
could, I don't know. So, what was this energy to be directed to do? All things. Was the energy directed outward or inward to the center? Both.
Mm.
Does this sound come from our bodies? Learn. Laura will find answers through discovery. They get kind of frustrated sometimes
They
when you
do,
keep
don't
asking
they?
them.
It's
They're
like
like,
learn,
stop.
discover.
I, yeah, we've given you
Go do
enough.
the
Now
work.
you gotta go do it yourself, boo. Like we've given you
Yeah.
enough clues as to put you on the right path. Now you've got to go learn yourself because why? Because we have to save ourselves.
Yeah.
The Cassiopaeans are not here to save us. They're here to assist us.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
so much easier when they just answer the question, though.
I know, right? It makes it so much. Where's
Save us so
the
much
magic
time.
pill? Where's the magic pill someone can just give us to make us healthy and happy
Yeah,
and yeah, no,
exactly.
we didn't come down here for that. We came here down here to do the work, so we got to do the work. And that's why sometimes, guys, people are like, why didn't the Cassiopeans bring this up or bring that up? Because nobody asked. They're
Yeah.
not going to talk about a subject unless you ask them because of why? Free will. Free
Hmm.
will.
Hmm.
Well, that was a pretty cryptic remark that I would learn something about this through a discovery. And the comment about the Coral Castle intrigued us as well. Even though I live in Florida, I had never been to see this purported marvel, and the only thing I knew about it was what I had learned watching a television program about it on Unsolved Mysteries, I believe. As it turned out, I was invited to give a talk to a UFO group in Orlando the following February. I had no idea what I was going to say, how open this group was going to be, or anything about the participants at all. On the drive over, about 100 miles from my house, I don't know how many kilometers that is, guys, but Laura lived in the same area that I go to because she's my boyfriend's cousin. They're from that same area. Orlando is about, I would say, 2 to 3 hours, depending on traffic. So just to give you guys a little indication of how far that is, and Orlando is in the middle of Florida. It's not on the coast, which is, I mean, I guess for an amusement park that makes sense, but like if you're gonna live in Florida, I'm like, you need to live on the coast. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, so On the drive over, accompanied by my two children, my daughter asked me what I was going to talk about. I told her that I didn't really know because I didn't know if this group was really ready for what the Cassiopaeans were saying about the UFO phenomenon and the alien presence on the planet. She replied, "Well, Mom, you don't have time to break it to them gently."
I
So I
love
didn't.
that.
So I didn't. I talked for an hour and a half or longer about the phenomenon preceding the Cassiopean communications. You can see the book Amazing Grace,
Yeah.
followed by a synopsis of different players as described by them, particularly the Greys and the Reptoids. The reception was underwhelming to say the least. One lady in the audience came up afterwards and offered to use her contacts with the Palladians to heal me of the
Oh.
injuries received in the automobile accident several months prior to this time. Um, don't do that, guys. Like that would piss me off if somebody did that to me. I
Mm.
walked up to me and said, I can use my contact with this group to heal you. Well, I didn't ask that. I didn't ask for
Yeah.
that. And you don't think I have access to this myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can make those decisions for myself. Like I think sometimes, and I think for me, when I pick up on these things, it's funny. We were talking to one of our students at the academy offline. Hopefully, she'll be coming on the channel soon to talk about her sound bowls. And she asked me a question about some of these like festivals, like these things like the people and the healing arts do, like yoga festivals sound. And I was like, oh girl. I can't stand. Get me as far away from those things as possible. I hate yoga festivals. I hate most of the people I know in the yoga industry, like real yoga students don't want anything to do with that nonsense.
Hmm.
Why? Because it's just a pissing contest. It's a bunch of egos. And so that's what that kind of reminds me of. That might be my own perception of my own experiences, but if someone said that to me, I'd be like,
Yeah, excuse me.
I don't need your Palladians. I'm good. I got my own
Yeah,
people.
I got my
Um,
own. Exactly.
Another offered to interpret our reading reality according to his Kabbalistic training, and so on. They gathered around me with faintly pitying looks on their faces. Yeah, that's why I don't do these things because it's just like egos. It's a pissing contest, right?
Yeah.
Um, However, there was a funny old man who came up to me with a big grin on his face, grabbed my hand and shook it vigorously, and said to me in a faint accent, "You know, I've been studying this UFO business for over 40 years. I talked with Dr. Hynek and Major Kehoe and all that, and you are the first person I have ever heard who has gotten up in public and described it as it really is. I have some material you might
Mm.
be interested in. You should come see me sometimes." And that's the thing too, Paula. Like when you're in fake spirituality and you're talking to Lizzies that are telling you they're Palladians,
Yep.
it's all light love and you have to
Yeah.
be. But
They're
when
not
it's
being
real,
real. Hmm.
no, when it's real, when the bells and whistles and the smoke and mirrors are pulled away, it's very raw and it's
Yeah.
very relatable, right? It's very human.
Hmm.
And so sometimes when we see these people accounting their experiences or talking about things and it's not fantastical, that's usually the people that are being the most honest,
Yeah.
you know, because we're perceiving all of this from our third density perspective anyway, because that's all we can. So don't let someone trick you into saying, "Oh, I can see it from a different density." No, they can't. No, they can't because we're in third density. Come
Yeah.
back to Earth. Like come back to Earth, or like come back to Earth. Like this is where we are, and this is where you can't teach calculus to a kindergartner, right? Like you have to teach them to cut their shapes and color and do their alphabet. That's where we are. We're in kindergarten. We're learning our triangles. We can't do
Yeah.
calculus, right? So all right. Well, I
Exactly.
thought he was just an old guy with a lot of time on his hands who needed company and might be using me as an excuse to get it. I thanked him and edged away to the host of the event, who was chatting with several other people who were apparently from out of town and were inquiring about various tourist attractions. The host was telling them about the many interesting sites, and he said, "And you might want to go down and take a look at Coral Castle too." "What is that?" one of them asked, and the host proceeded to recap the Unsolved Mysteries presentation. Then he said, "You can ask Hillard over there," pointing to the old man who knew Dr. Hynek. He was a close friend of the guy who built the Coral Castle. That's interesting.
Ooh.
Well, needless to say, after hearing this, I remembered what the Cassiopaeans had said that I would discover something about this sound wave focusing, and I eased back over to the old man and said, "I hear you knew the guy who built the Coral Castle." "Yep, sure did. Knew him for years. I was stationed over here in Homestead, so the Homestead area is south of Miami. That's where Coral Castle is. And after the war, and got to know him pretty well. I asked, did he ever tell you how he did it?" Nope, he never would tell anybody. He would always say that he knew the secrets of how the pyramids were built, but nobody ever saw him do it. I have some ideas about it, though, and I wrote a little book about him and my experience and observations. It's a shame the television program didn't give the real story. Well, we know that television
Of
programs
course.
rarely give the real story, right? And all that nonsense about Sweet 16 and a broken heart and so on. What a load of crap. Sure, if you come visit, I can show you what I do know. Do you know something? I've only had one person. Um, I am the only one person. That's the guy's name, guys. I know that's why I didn't say his name. Probably gonna mess up. Led Scanlon. Led Scanlon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ever let come inside his home. He was a real loner. And so
Oh.
when I was already making plans for a visit, I made a trip back over to the Orlando area within the week. I was truly amazed at what I found. This old man, Hillard, had truly been fascinated by this UFO business for over 40 years. His home was a veritable museum um, of UFOs. There were paintings and large photographs on the walls, knickknacks and memorabilia on the tables, and books, and a huge collection of books in bookcases and papers and boxes. Out of one of these boxes, he pulled a manuscript that was clearly written on an old manual typewriter. He said it was the only copy. I was appalled at the end and offered to transcribe it onto the computer and give him a copy on a diskette. He said he would like that very much, but he was not ready yet to let the only existing copy leave his possession. I certainly understand. I think I need to up my glasses, you guys. It's bad when the glasses are not giving you as much help as they used to. Anyway, the manuscript was about his meeting with Edward L., the guy who built Coral Castle, and all of his conversations with the man. It included many black and white photographs of Mr. L. and Hillard and his family taken at Coral Castle over the years. Hillard was in uniform in most of the photographs and said that he had been in the Army and then the Army Air Corps and that he had been in Florida for many years and decided to make it his permanent home after his retirement. He took me on a tour of his memorabilia, his photographs, his books. It was just too much to absorb at once. I tried to sit and read through this little book he had written about Coral Castle, but was unable to concentrate with so many other things around to see and talk about. But we discussed it at some length, finally. Hiller described how Mr. L had done a lot of experiments and knew all kinds of secrets, but apparently Mr. L had the idea that if he let it be known exactly what he knew, he would be picked up by some government officials and never seen again. He
Mhm.
might not have been wrong on that either. And I can agree with that too, can't you,
Yeah,
Paula? Like, yeah, I think he was wise to kind of keep it to himself.
I think.
Hiller described, yeah, this is a different time, guys, than we're living in now.
Mhm.
Hiller described how the Coral Castle had been built on one site, but Mr. L had decided to move it because there were some problems with zoning or the county officials. The mode of moving of this pile of rocks was amazing. Apparently, he hired a truck and a driver, only he would have the driver park the truck overnight and send him home. The next morning, the truck would be loaded with the huge blocks of stone and would be driven to the new site. There was a block and a tackle on tall poles prominently displayed, and apparently Mr. L tried to give the impression that this is what he was using, but he would send the driver off on an errand, leaving the truck there with the blocks on it, and when the driver would return, the truck would be unloaded. This was repeated over and over again until all the stones were moved onto the new site. Another peculiar thing was that Hiller told me that he had visited the site where the stones were cut and there was no tailings. Tailings are the stone equivalent of sawdust. When you saw wood, you have sawdust. When you cut stone or metal, you have tailings. So,
Mhm.
however Mr. L cut these stones, it was not the usual method. The next strange thing was described in the session following this visit on the 3rd, so March 11th, 1995. Laura, I want to ask you about the fellow with the coral castle. We went over to see Hillard, as you know. When we were talking to Hillard, he told us about the man who built the coral castle, his habits, and so forth. He was very ascetic and thrifty. He didn't have many friends, and there was a part of the place that was his private residence where no one was allowed to go except Hillard. According to Hillard, this fellow had apparently in his private quarters three objects: a bed, a table, and a swing made out of airplane seats suspended from the ceiling by a chain, complete with seat belts. This is answer. You got it right because you are learning and rebundling DNA as a result of this and other activities. Laura, Well, you didn't let me finish. Okay. So the things that S redacted and I were discussing, this mystery, the understanding of how this man performed these remarkable feats of engineering and construction is correct. So by sound. That's what I'm getting. He moved them from using
Yeah.
sound
Yeah.
pretty quickly too. If you
Yeah.
hire a U-Haul truck and you send the driver away on an errand, how
Yeah.
much time does that buy you? Like what, 45 minutes, an hour,
He
depending on what
must
the errand is?
he must have had it down packed.
Yes. And he wouldn't tell anybody because he didn't want the, he probably could have moved those stones without the driver, without the truck, just moved them.
Probably, but he probably
But
didn't want it to be too suspicious either to, get the wrong attention.
exactly. And how kind is that is of just to move them himself with sound so the guys didn't have to pick up the heavy stones, you know?
Yeah.
Um, And right there, the Cassiopaeans changed the subject. Answer,
Mm.
hypnotize S redacted if you wish. Do you suppose, what do you suppose has happened to S redacted in her life? And why does she have nagging thoughts about her personal reality, which she chooses not to disclose? And I know why they're bringing this up with the Nordic Covenant guys. I'm not going to say anything yet. Paula and I have discussed this off camera, I think. I think that this is where they're getting at. So you got to understand these like powers. Anyway, this was a particular thing to say. They were directing my attention to S redacted at this crucial point of my questions. Question S, I think that's the same person, S redacted. We don't have her name. I think you better hypnotize me. I have nagging thoughts, but Terry intervenes. Does this bring anything out, S redacted? About my personality? I doubt it. I don't know. It's like a great big question mark. What does this mean? Answer, what does it mean indeed? Question, Laura. Okay, guys, let's connect our brain cells here. Answer, no need to connect brain cells. Using your chakras will do.
Ooh.
How do we connect our chakras? Discover. Answer, can you give us a clue about this? Answer, you are missing the point. Don't search. Just let it happen when it's ready. So again, another reason to exercise, guys. We got to bring vitality and energy to those chakras.
Yeah. Wow.
The chakras are sometimes a little bit more important than the logical brain, right?
Hmm.
There are things the energetic body understands that the logical mind can't. Because the logical mind, the brain, is of the body, not of the spirit. Yeah? But clearly we had been pushing things a little too hard, and it was very curious that the Cassiopaeans did not want to continue to discuss Hillard and the Coral Castle and deflected the subject to S redacted. But this later brought up very curious things about the Nordic Covenant, strangely enough. So that's what I'm getting at right now. Okay. As I described in Amazing Grace, Frank and I went to a UFO conference in the Gulf Breeze, Pensacola Beach. I'm laughing about that. In the spring of 1996, I'm laughing because Pensacola, that whole area, guys, that's the party area.
Oh.
Like Panama City's up there. We call that the Redneck Riviera. It's up in the panhandle of Florida, so North Florida. I just think it's funny, but I can understand why they would do a conference up there because it is a very party area, so it's very populated, right? S redacted is the other person who accompanied S redacted is the other person who accompanied us. At this point in time, we were having serious doubts about the intentions of S redacted in our group. There was the fact that she was a source of constant friction in the group, but it was also innocent and subtle that you could never quite pin down what was going on. Nevertheless, the situation was becoming unbearable even at the time we took this trip together. I decided to closely observe S redacted during this time we were going to be together day and night and see if I can discover what exactly the problem was. I certainly did not want to jump to conclusions and exclude her if it was just a matter of personality. I've always believed that people can get along even if they have very different personalities, if they have some things in common or at least a common goal. The question was, what was S redacted's goal? What were her intentions? Why did she so eagerly seek to join our group? It had been gratifying, of course, to think that she was so excited over the material as she claimed to be, that she was truly being helped by participation, and that she was the most faithful attendee. But there was a motive behind this that was not, but was there a motive behind this that was not so benevolent? Now, I don't know anything about S Redacted, but I think we were just talking about like love bombing and
Mm.
mirroring, weren't we? And so
Mhm.
all of a sudden you start to become suspicious.
Yeah.
She's the most faithful attendee, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially when there's conflicts that are arising that seem to kind of go back to one person. One thing that really bothered both Frank and me was her past. She was adopted and really knew nothing about her biological family, but that was not the issue. At a young age, she had rebelled, as is generally considered normal, but her mode of rebellion was a little extreme. She became involved with a member of a notorious motorcycle gang. Well, that's a little extra, it's a little fancy. Well, even that is not a dreadful thing, except for the way she would describe her life with the outlaws and how she participated in concealing very serious criminal activity. Of course, by the time we knew her, all that was in the past. She had long been disassociated with them, had gone to school to become a massage therapist, and had become actively involved in a local metaphysical community. They talk about that metaphysical community a lot. There was a lot of shenanigans going on in this metaphysical community.
Yeah,
Again,
right.
just because something's metaphysical is used for both the good and the bad, you guys. Be very careful.
Mhm.
But still, she could talk about mayhem and even schmurder in the most disconnected way imaginable. It was as though she had no emotion about it all. This was very disturbing. Frank would deliberately ask her questions about her experiences, and rather than seeing them as dreadful, she would talk and laugh about some of them, and she never seemed reluctant to talk about it at all. This simply did not mesh with her reformed persona. How could someone decree the extermination of roaches and pass off the murder of a human being as though it were nothing? But then a curious thing happened. A local woman who taught Reiki and meditation classes called me and wanted to place an ad in our now defunct Aurora Journal. Actually, it's not defunct, it's just a virtual journal here on the website. After we talked a bit, she asked if she and a friend might attend a session, and I agreed. I'm actually going to look and see if that journal is still available, you guys. If it is available, I'll put it in the description box below. If it's not there, it's because I couldn't find it. But if it's not there and you found it under a different name or something, just tag it in the comment section.
Yeah.
On the night of this particular session, S Redacted arrived late after our guests were already there. I didn't really notice anything unusual about S Redacted at first, but she was very quiet, and it seemed that the atmosphere in the room had changed with her arrival. After a short while, she declared that she had a headache and left suddenly. Everything proceeded much as normal, and it was a good and energetic session with a lot of information to think about. Our guests left, and that was that. The next day, the Reiki and meditation teacher called me on the phone and, after a lot of hemming and hawing, asked how long I had known S Redacted. I replied that I had known her for a little over a year and that she had been a very enthusiastic member of our group for most of the time. Then came the bombshell. The woman asked me if I knew that S Redacted was a member of a local coven that practiced what she called black magic. I
Ooh.
have a lot of empathy for Laura in this time because that is horrible to realize people you've been collaborating with are actively participating in black magic. It's
Especially
even
when you
worse.
trust them.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. People that were attacking me, I felt used to film with. So that's what I'm saying, you guys, like, be careful. I mean, that's given me, I don't regret it happening because it's given me wisdom. I've
Yeah.
gotten smarter
But
because of this, but
yeah.
it's a horrible feeling. It's a
Mm,
horrible feeling.
yeah.
No, I was not aware and couldn't believe it to be true. How did this woman know this? As it turned out, S Redacted and this other woman had both taken some sort of classes in an Oriental healing modality, and at the end of the class, a trip to Mexico had been arranged for the members. S Redacted and this woman had shared a bunk of on the cruise. It was during this time that S Redacted had revealed her activities to this other woman and had even tried to induce her to participate. I was stunned. Was she sure? There was no mistake. It wasn't somebody else. Nope, it was S Redacted. Then a lot of very strange things began to make sense. Attitudes, atmospheres, strange connections that are too numerous to describe. But most of all, it was now clear that this was the reason the Cassiopaeans would not be as forthcoming in her presence as they had formerly been. It
Ooh.
also explained the reason they had changed the subject when I was talking about Coral Castle and instead brought up the fact that S Redacted's background was unusual. All were clues for me to pick up on, designed not to violate my free will. This sense of
Wow.
betrayal, of knowing that S Redacted was associated with persons who had, on previous occasions, tried to deliberately harm me, was severe. I want to cry. Like if Laura sees this, like I know I push back on Laura a lot with some of her stuff because of the whole my training in yoga. But as I always say, two things can be true. You can disagree with somebody on some things, but also totally respect them in other areas. And if
Yeah.
Laura is seeing this, like I'm literally trying not to cry right now, girl, I absolutely understand what that's like. I've been there myself.
Hmm.
And that is such a sense of betrayal. It is
Yeah.
such a sense of betrayal. And to know that you have the purest of intentions to help people and somebody has made their way into your life who is corrupting your work
Yeah.
and who is perhaps cheapening your work because you have no idea. You think they're just trying to help people as
Yeah.
well. And this gets dangerous too when black magic is involved. This isn't just somebody spreading gossip about
Oh
you
no,
or
this is
no, this is
serious.
dangerous. This is serious. This is when lives get messed with, right?
Yeah.
Um, Nevertheless, we kept silent on this matter and made the trip to Gulf Breeze, during which time I was closely watching S Redacted. Fair play to you, Laura, for being able to go on this trip
Yeah.
with this person, knowing what you know. I could never do that. Like the minute I found out the person was the head of this coven that I had been filming with, was the minute I closed down. There was no way I could ever film with this person again. And I tried warning the people around her that were being spellcasted by her. It didn't work. It backfired. But I immediately shut down. Like I would have never been able to do any more videos with with the person I was doing video. I would never be able because I can't. I have a hard time lying. Like I can't. I don't have a poker face. Like I don't.
Mhm.
You know. And so fair play to you, Laura, if you were able to do that and remain cool, calm, and collective just to investigate further.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. Just prior to this trip, we had discussed the curious lack of emotions that S redacted display. But during the trip, from start to finish, she was a literal bundle of emotions. It was though she had been able to hear our thoughts and was now counteracting them. Curious. They can do
Ooh.
that. They can do that, you guys. They can enter your dreams. I mean, the person I was filming out has flat out told people on her channel that she is into black magic because of the island where she goes to, and I think she's now moved to. If you research that island is notorious for I don't know how to say this, for what they did on that island in the Caribbean that belonged to Jeffrey.
Hmm.
Same up there in the northwestern. It's the same situation with they transport the red stuff that people use for we'll say partying
Hmm.
for youth. That's an island that transports that stuff. And this person talks about this island all the time, goes there, I think is
Yeah.
on move there, somebody said. Says she's telling you that she's in the cabal. It's if you don't go and research this island, that's your fault. You're consenting. So anyway, question, Laura. The first inquiry I have is our situation relating to S redacted and the different clues that we have received and the different observations that I have made myself and the discussions or the networking interactions that we have had on the subject. Can you tell us anything in a general way, or do we really have to ask specific questions about this subject? Before we get into this, I just want to say one of my favorite mantras is don't believe everything you think,
Mhm.
because black magic practitioners can change your thoughts sometimes with their spell casting.
Wow,
So
really?
one person that you really jive with and have a great partnership with, whether that's friendship, business, they can come in and try to cut that off if they need one of you for to be separated for a particular reason. So
Whoa.
it's not just lying, creating stories about a person to try to dissuade you. They can also get in your head
Wow.
telepathically or whatever. So just be very careful, you guys. Like be very, very careful. Don't believe everything you think,
Yeah.
right? That's why we listen to the gut instinct, not the mind. The gut. They can't mess with your gut, but they can mess with your mind.
That's scary.
And that's why the C says get out of your brains, get in your chakras, right? They're
Mhm.
not talking about the upper chakras, they're talking about
About
the
the lower
gut,
ones.
the
Yeah.
lower ones, because they can't fuck with that, but they
And
can
isn't
fuck
that
with it.
interesting that in the spiritual community, there's always so much focus on working on the higher ones, but not the
Oh,
lower ones.
yeah, that's totally a controlled opposition. That's it. That's because if we don't work on the lower ones, we're never going to move on. We're never going to upgrade, right? We're going to stay
Yeah.
in third density, which the Lizzies feed off of us that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, if you go to a healer and they don't talk about your lower chakra, as a teacher, Paula, I hardly ever. I might mention the upper chakras like in connection to the lower chakras or in passing, but my focus is always the lower chakras.
Hmm.
Always. If you do our workout videos, I'm always, aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm always talking about the lower chakras. I
Yeah.
might say, and then it'll shoot up through the upper chakras, but I'm never focused so much on the upper ones.
Yeah.
Because as Cindy says it best, my friend Cindy from Sacred Garden Yoga, she says it best. She has a workout video on our platform as well. She's going to come in and do some live calls with us as well. She says it best. Spirit is what you are. You're already spirit, but human is what you're being asked to do right now.
Yeah.
So you're already this. So you
Hmm.
need to be in your lower in your humanity, okay? And if that doesn't wake you up that they can fuck with your head, but they can't fuck with your gut, then I don't know what else is going to. Get
Yeah.
out of your head, get in your body. Yeah? All right. SV is storehouse of vital information. Clue for you was a name, but you failed to notice. Okay, but so SV is S redacted. Okay, but S redacted. This is why the frustration is for you. Nothing of value comes without a price. Laura, number one, S redacted has lied to us. Number two, it seems that she began to demonstrate emotional effect after we had discussed the fact that there was a serious lack of emotional effect after you had told us that these robot people are people who spend a lot of time alone and have answer. The price, my dear, continues. The Nordic Covenant was a duality. Laura, S redacted comes from that area where you mentioned a Nordic covenant. What is it? Minnesota? She's from Minnesota? Oh, I never made that connection. So when you made the mention of the Nordic covenant and the banking scandal, was that a double layered statement to us? Maybe, but you are missing the point. All persons of Nordic heritage hold secret power centers, can be of darkness or light. S redacted as a Teutonic bloodline, leading to directly to such superpower sources as the Tool Society. You guys, we've talked about this on my channel before. That comes from um, the Yahtzees
Yep.
and others, and she is aware of her powers and mission. It is of positive orientation. However, you are being tested by fourth through sixth density forces to determine if you have the strength and wisdom to continuance. This whole thing just doesn't make sense. Now, her mission is of power, of positive orientation. But you guys, and I don't know, we're gonna maybe S redacted bounces back. Maybe we'll see. But what is the biggest goal of the Lizzies? To turn a positively oriented person
Yeah. Too
negative.
negative. Yeah.
And the higher up you get in more positive orientation, the easier it is to switch negative. Why? And the Yoga Sutras talk about this well in the
Oh.
final chapter. Because you develop siddhis, is what they're called in
Yes.
yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to understand you have these particular powers, now
Mm.
the goal of yoga is by that time you've been practicing for like 20 years. And so you're so humbled that you're not going to use them unless they're to help. And you're not just going to willy-nilly use them. You're not going to, I mean, we talked about that with manifesting, like all
Yeah.
these manifestors that put these poster boards up of houses they want. That's service to self.
Yeah.
Unless you are actually doing you can manifest, think about the house you want, the car you want, but you also have to put the effort in to receive that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just trying to manifest something without actually putting the energy in to create it, then you're stealing. It's got
Mm-hmm.
to come from somewhere. As they say, everything comes with a price.
Yeah.
So if you want to be rich and have a big house, that's great. Put it on your board, but you also better be working
Do
your
the
ass
work.
off to
Yeah.
get it and hope those opportunities are presented to you to work even harder to get it. No one's going to, because if someone hands it to you on a silver platter without you earning it, then you have stolen that from somebody else
Yeah.
who has worked hard to earn it.
Not to mention what karma you're getting along
Oh,
with
absolutely.
that.
So be careful with the whole, I know we want to do a separate video on that, but be careful, you guys, with the whole manifestation community. Be very careful. 99% of the manifestation community is negatively polarized, is
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie's. The secret, all that stuff, negatively polarized.
Mm-hmm.
So be very careful. All right, Laura, the whole thing just doesn't make sense. Answer, and we are the Cassiopaeans. But if it is your will to live as you desire, well, Frank is of Nordic extraction. Is he a member of this covenant also? Maybe. If so, it's news to me. Frank says, if so, it's news to me. Laura, do you say she is aware of her mission? Some are curious how background is murky. Yes. Laura, yes, it is curious. Something tells me that this can go further. Laura, oh, so V says, something tells me this can go farther. Laura, well, yes, but they are also talking about her birth and her adoption and all kinds of things in another session, stuff that's so unclear she doesn't know anything about and claims she doesn't. So strange. Is S redacted a walk-in? Not correct terminology. Well, then what is the correct terminology? What is S redacted? Birthright. Now, what does this mean? Discover. Are you saying that when we make mention of the Nordic Covenant and the Thule Society, that there is some possibility that S redacted has been programmed or has layers of programming, and that some part of her program knows what she is doing and maybe the other part doesn't? Yes, but that is not a negative thing. What programming I think they're talking about is genetic, and we'll get into that
Oh,
after we get to
okay. Right.
Okay, now let me go a little bit deeper. Could S redacted be what you described as a robot person, but programmed for positive purposes? No robot people do have bloodlines.
Do not do not have
Do not
bloodline.
have bloodlines. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think with robot people, they're referring to organic portals, which they call organic portals later on in the reading.
Right.
Um, and actually, they say that the organic portals are the corrupt bloodlines.
Hmm.
Right? It's the organic portals, people without souls. And what's hard for people to accept is that people like Bill Gates, like Hillary Clinton, they have souls. You
Yeah.
can only go you can only go George Soros, you can only go negative if you make that choice to go negative, which means you have a soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something that's programmed genetically in a bloodline, not exactly. Well, that's what I thought. Those that have bloodlines have a corresponding soul alignment. Okay, that makes more sense.
Hmm.
So, as we opened with, your soul has an alignment, it has a mission, it has lessons it needs to learn. And so, what does it do? Because the soul creates the body, it genetically programs a bloodline that has the available stuff to create that mission. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, now do we want to let's get through this first because I are we talking about genetic bloodlines that activate certain abilities and genes that interfere or interface with a corresponding soul that has prepared for this manifestation of this bloodline? Yes. So basically the soul creates the matter. The
Hmm.
Shiva and the Shakti. The soul is the soul is the Shiva, the creation is the matter is the Shakti. It's created by us. We created this every life, whatever lessons, as we said in the very beginning, right? So I'm a white girl. I'm of Nordic descent. So is Paula. If you have white in you, you've got Nordic in you, right? Even if that's not directly, you've got that a little bit of that in your genetics. So for some reason, people like Paula and me and anybody else watching who has any, even if you consider yourself to be black or Asian, but you have some white in you, your soul needed that fractal of DNA from that Nordic bloodline for particular lessons you needed to learn because of certain abilities that correspond to this particular ethnicity. Does that make sense, Paula? Is there anything you want to say on that?
I think so. Yep. It's like it's a
It's
lot.
heavy, isn't it?
It's a
This is
lot.
heavy. Heavy. Is there any significance to the fact that S Redacted spent all those years living with the Outlaws motorcycle gang and this covenant? Yes, and that is what has led and is leading to the destruction of the Outlaws, a group associated directly with the Fourth. And that's interesting.
Mm.
Service to self. Her presence there caused them to break up. It's breaking them. They are all going to jail, yes, because of the circumstances planted by Agent S Redacted. This is why the perceived lack of emotion connection with the whole situation. Vitale is the bravest human you have ever known. I think that's her last name. So they didn't do a
Um,
lot, they didn't do a lot of redacting when they try to redact and they accidentally leave something in.
oh,
All evidence to the contrary is veiled part of the testing process. And that's crazy, so they're nervous around her, but they're also saying she has done some good things. Like this is nuanced, right? But they
yeah.
also won't talk around certain things around her.
It's wow. It's really complex, isn't it?
Yeah, very complex. If we're being tested, why are you telling us? V, so that you do not fail? Yes. Vital that you do not fail. Is SV aware of that? Yes. Is there a pivotal word that might break this open to clear understanding? Discover. Now, when we were flying home and we were flying through the storm, was that storm which began before we left and we flew through on the way back, was that a byproduct of a bleed through of a battle between the forces? Yes. Why was it trying to harm us in any way? Because we had to fly through it and couldn't fly over it? I mean, even the pilot was worried and he had been flying for years. Yes. Okay, so how are we supposed to react to this situation? Up to you. Okay, we knew that was coming. It wouldn't have been a good night without it. Well, okay, I'm going to trust you guys and I'm going to go with the flow and I'm going to assume that you are right. And I'm going to assume that this is for the best and for the good. And I'm going to stop my knee-jerk reaction and stop worrying about such things. Suggestions is that you look before you leap. All can be wrong in their quick judgments. Whether the result be acceptance or rejection, all is not as it seems. Remember, those that come into your group or in your circle of influence can be different than you think. Now, also, I want to say, Paula, too.
Hmm.
Now, for like an undergrounder, they're never going to change.
Hmm.
Undergrounders are going to do their black magic until the day they die.
Yeah.
But sometimes negatively polarized people who have the potential can also flip positive.
Hmm. So,
Um,
yeah.
You said we were being tested for what? Continents, continents of what? Continuance is of all. Okay, we were being tested through SV currently. Are you saying that what we would have been considered attacks were just tests? The ones associated with Vitale and no, all with that name are not of this orientation, but this clue was installed for you, open to all possibilities. Rigidity does not pay. I am not comfortable with this information about S redacted. It seems to be contradicting to everything I can observe and feel. Worry not further. Discomfort is not necessarily dangerous and is indicative of growth and learning. And that's yoga. You text that to me tonight. That's yoga. Now the important thing about this session was not the working out of my personal dilemma, but rather the clues about the mysterious Nordic Covenant and its relation to a bloodline or birthright of some sort.
Hmm.
This was over a year before I became interested in genealogy, so these terms really meant very little to me at the time, and now it's time to go into another slightly different direction, which will shed even more light on this mystery. We'll end that for today, but we should continue with some of these, Paula.
I think so. This is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating, isn't it? And it looks
Yeah,
like they've got quite a few parts to it, don't they?
so I think we should actually, instead of going through the transmissions, we should just make this and go through all the where
The
she writes
foldings.
about. Because sometimes when you hear her writing about her experiences on the board, it starts to make more sense than
It
just the little
does.
information Cassiopaeans are giving you. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, you guys, from my understanding, I know I told this to Paula, and this is just very loose understanding, so I could be wrong. Don't take this as the word of God. From asking my boyfriend, who is an ex who's been following the Cassiopaeans for years, this is what I understand happened. We know that every single race on this planet is from a different constellation.
Hmm.
And when humanoids are being brought to Earth by the Lizzies, they were all brought by the Lizzies to create, we talked about the fallen angels, that our souls, not our bodies. So the soul fell to experience physicality. So all these other entities were brought in to bring the physical life to the fallen angels, which are us. And so every race, white, black, Asian, came from another constellation. Now, from what I understand, again, I could be off on some things here. We're going to learn the more we go, is that when they were moving white people, so from Kentucky, we talked about the planet Kentucky,
Hmm.
they had to move so quickly with that group of people. What your ancestors would be as a white person, not your soul's ancestors, but your biological
Yeah.
ancestors. They could not turn off some of the abilities fast enough.
Mhm.
So whereas other races got a complete
Shut down.
shutdown, Nordic people didn't
Mhm.
because they couldn't work that. It was like it kind of
Too
snuck
much of
up
a
on them.
rush. Yeah.
Too much of a rush to get the Kentuckians, which are the Druids, the Celt, the Indians as well, have a lot of Kentuckian descent. I think that's why white people are so attracted to yoga. That made sense to me. I was like, well, that makes sense because there's a huge
Yeah.
white group that are now trips. The yoga resonates with them as well. Um, that's why I think that the Celtics and the Nordic, I mean, the Druids have been so smeared.
Yes, they really have, haven't they? Yeah.
because the white people got dropped here and just kept doing what they knew, what they learned to do with these powers, creating Stonehenge, creating.
Yeah.
So out of all of the mystical arts, they're the ones that have gotten the most smeared.
Hmm.
And so if we look at Coral Castle, Stonehenge, these were done by white people who figured it out. So
Interesting.
there is something about the genetics of Nordic. So even if you're Black or Asian, check your genealogy because I don't think they ever expected that we would crossbreed, that we would cross pollinate too.
Yeah, right.
I don't think they expected that. So now again, this has nothing to do with this is just what happened. And
Hmm.
again, your soul has been so many different races. Your soul has been so whatever race you are, that's not who you are as a soul, right? It's just the ride that you're in right now. Yeah, that's your ride, your roller coaster ride. For us white people, it might be Scary Mountain. I don't know. Like it might be an haunted house ride. And so that they also get into Princess Diana and her Nordic lineage and things
Interesting.
that she was able to do.
Yeah,
So
right.
now, if you are a white person, this does not make you better than anybody. I want to be very, very clear. This does not mean anything about your value as a human being.
No.
It just means that your genetics, there's something different about your genetics. I meant to say when we talked about the fallen angels, this kind of goes into it too. The
Hmm.
10 missing tribes of Israel, we've already assumed those were the 10 DNA strands that are inactive. We only
Yep.
have two active. Well,
Mhm.
they talk about how they burned those 10 DNA strands within us when they brought us here, but maybe not for white people.
Ooh. But then they've been trying to dumb it down with through the food, the, pollution in the air,
Market,
the soil, water,
making it of the
everything.
devil, making it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's just interesting. And this has absolutely nothing to do, again, the content of your character is what's important,
Hmm.
not your
Yeah.
ethnicity.
It's the choices that you're making on a daily basis. Yeah.
And if you have Nordic in you and this is an issue that you deal with, then that's just part of the lessons for you to learn in this life. And if you're not Nordic in this life, chances are you have been in a past life.
Hmm.
So it's just different lessons you're learning with this recipe of genetics that your soul created for you. Okay, so I want to be very clear about this. This has nothing to do with your value. We are all equally valued. Nobody is more important than the next
Yeah.
person. Okay,
It's
nobody
just what you've chose, what your soul chose for this particular life for the lessons that you
for
want
right
to
now.
learn. Yeah.
Yeah, for right now.
Yeah.
Last life you could have been a totally different.
Exactly.
So in next life you might be totally different too. We're all going to switch the roles, right? Each life we're all going to be in different roles. Yeah. So, but it does give more of a if you take yourself out of it and just look at it, it makes sense.
Very interesting, that's for sure.
So that's why I think there's more RH negatives in the Nordic, in the European area because RH negatives do have an inclination towards being a little bit witchy, having
Mm.
some, I don't know, having cities, like being able to psychically know things, being able to, you know, like there's weirdness. That's why I started looking into arch negative because I've had these things happen to me. That's why there's a book
Yeah.
called, and
Wanted
that might make
answers.
sense
Hmm.
connects to the Nordic. So anyway, but yeah, you guys. So please, 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 this explains. It says nothing about individuals. Everybody is special. Every single human being. You are your soul is a fractal of God. You're in the body you're supposed to be in right now for the lessons that you're learning, and you're just as valuable as the next person. But it does give us a little bit more explanation as to why is there such a smear campaign against white people right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you are of Nordic descent and you find that you have some abilities, your choice is how you're going to use them.
Yeah.
Are you going to help people? You're going to help people or hurt them.
Hmm.
And by helping them with their consent. So I'm excited about this. This is
Yeah.
fascinating, isn't it?
I know. It's great.
I
Great.
want to know if there's anybody that has been to Coral Castle. Let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah.
Maybe the next time I'm
Well,
in Florida, we can make the trip
when
down
I
there.
come to the US, I want to go check it out.
There's so much crazy stuff in Florida, you guys. Like so much crazy stuff in Florida. Florida is very mystical. It's very weird. And let us know, like, if there's any of these phenomena. So you guys, if you're not from the United States, I want you to go look at the Coral Castle, read the mysteries behind it, and then I want you to look in your country and
Mhm.
see if there's a corresponding story.
Yeah.
Like, and let us know in the
Yeah.
comment section below where there's a mystery of and Coral Castle is modern, guys. This is not like the pyramids or
No.
Stonehenge where we can create stories because we don't know anybody alive who was there when it was constructed. This is modern. So look for modern. I want to know because I'm sure there's more people that have figured out this sound business, the sorcery with
I
sound sorcery.
reckon.
Okay? So anyway, all right, I know this is a long one, guys, but
It
this has been
was,
fun.
but
I didn't
so
pre-read the
fascinating.
reading. It was so fascinating. So we'll do the next one. We'll just keep
Yeah,
going. How about that? Just get on
absolutely.
the list. We'll just keep going and we'll talk about it. And I cannot wear, please be kind to each other, guys. Remember, we are all just walking each other home. We're all brothers and sisters in this. We all got ourselves into this mess together. So we all got to get ourselves out of this mess together. So
Exactly.
anyway, you guys, anything else you want to say, Paula, before we sign off?
No, no, that's it's absolutely fascinating, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yes, yes, guys. All right. We'll
All
see
right.
you guys very soon. Remember to subscribe to our Substacks and
Yes,
check out
join us
the
on
Esoteric
Substack.
Academy. 10% off if you use the Shumna 10 at discount. That will be in the description box too. Bye,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Bye.